3. Deep in the heart of Hangman's Wood, an old caravan stood alone, half hidden by the thick foliage and cool shade of the towering trees. It was painted a bright daffodil yellow, yet despite its vibrant colour, the caravan largely went unnoticed, as this was a part of the woods where people seldom ventured. Most would have found these surroundings unnerving, but for the old gypsy woman who inhabited the caravan, the forest gave her the solitude she craved. Here she spent her days living a simple life, evading the townsfolk and their stares, some curious, some hostile, and some afraid. It had long been said that the gypsy woman possessed powers of witchery. Her extensive knowledge of the plants and herbs growing wildly in the forest meant that she was able to remedy many an ailment. For the most part, she kept to herself, sharing her remedies only when invited, and then only for a price. But there was something else the old gypsy woman had that was of interest to a number of the townsfolk, and it was something that could not be attributed to her plants, herbs, or anything else. It was her ability to see into the past and into the future. Those who were not afraid enough to stay away came to ask her to tell them these things, and so she did, accepting their money for her trouble. Sometimes, however, and more frequently these days, the power evaded her, and she was unable to tell them anything. On other occasions, she saw things that they would not want to know, and so kept her silence. She had no name for this power other than the second sight, as her mother and her grandmother before her had called it. In younger years it had come to her freely, often in dreams. Lately it lurked at the edge of her awareness, needing to be invoked. She did not like to summon it, unless she had to. At this time the old woman was listening to the wild bird song through the open window. Her coarse grey hair was plaited into a simple braid, away from a weathered and craggy face. Her eyes, despite her age, were a bright cornflower blue, alert and bird-like, and held a certain kindness. The woman raised her gnarled hand to her temple, feeling a familiar ache that was gradually becoming stronger. She got up and shuffled into the kitchen area, her gaze wandering briefly to the shallow pool collecting in the sink thanks to a leaky tap. Murky, distorted shapes were beginning to swirl in the water. She closed the window and pulled the drapes, leaving the caravan in near darkness. In a small cupboard, she reached past numerous jars and bottles and removed a wooden bowl and several candles. After filling the bowl with water, she placed it on the table and lit the candle wicks with a trembling hand. The old woman took a seat at the table and leaned in close, the lines etched in her face accentuated by the dancing light of the flames. The throbbing in her temple was escalating, sending jolts of pain through her skull. Quickly, she muttered an incantation and the pain ebbed away, leaving her still and quiet in her chair. The temperature in the caravan dropped, and the flames of the candles glowed blue. Shivering, the old woman clasped her shawl more tightly about her frail shoulders and gazed into the wooden bowl. The water clouded and then cleared. Shapes loomed, dark colours merged and then separated. Her fingers twitched unavoidably as tiny electric shocks prickled at her skin. Then came a series of hazy images playing out like a soundless film. A clock struck midnight. Through the window of a nursery, the moon illuminated a child sleeping in its crib and then vanished behind a single cloud. When the moon reappeared, the crib was empty, holding nothing but a small bear with a tuft of stuffing protruding from a slash on its middle, and the pristine white bedclothes were now covered in tiny, muddy footprints. The old woman frowned, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Too soon the water cleared, and for a moment she thought the vision was over. But then a new image appeared. The water depicted a girl of 12 or 13, with chestnut-coloured hair and dark, expressive eyes. The girl in the water looked sad. Sad that nobody understood and that nobody listened. But the water told that she was not alone. The water showed what was all around her. For the girl in the water could see things that others could not. The girl had a second sight, of this there was no question. But not as the old woman knew it.